It's the idea that matters. It didn't matter where you come from or what your background is. One revolutionary idea, one brilliant invention can unleash others to revolutionize industries in ways you could never predict. So take the time to find the thing that excites you more than anything else in the world. Not the thing your parents want you to do, or the thing that all your friends are doing, or that society expects of you. Let me tell you a little bit about my personal journey to Silicon Valley from India 22 years ago. Growing up in India, like many of you, I got my first telephone when I was 12. In my case, it turned out to be a rotary phone, so it wasn't that great for selfies, but I still loved to call my friends, play with it, and sometimes take it apart. That telephone cemented my fascination with technology. I remember in my parents' house in Chennai reading about the invention of the transistor at Bell Labs. Of course, that initial invention helped found what became known as Silicon Valley, and out of that came companies like Fairchild Semiconductor and Intel and all the computers and software that we all use today. You can draw a direct line from that invention to the technology that powers your Twitter feed or your WeChat messages today. I remember reading about that and thinking, it's the idea that matters. It didn't matter where you come from or what your background is. One revolutionary idea, one brilliant invention can unleash other entrepreneurs to revolutionize industries in ways you could never predict. In India, another early and insightful decision was to create the Indian Institutes of Technology. These are leading engineering and technical institutions that are government supported. I still vividly remember as a teenager jumping onto a crowded train at Chennai and traveling for 24 hours to attend my school at IIT Kharagpur. And that opportunity changed the course of my life. These institutions, over many decades, have played a huge role in creating generations of skilled entrepreneurs in India. The people who built the transistor in many ways enable the entrepreneurs who are using incredible processing power to analyze data and diagnose cancer. In the same way, the invention of smartphones and GPS has enabled other companies to build apps that revolutionize the way we travel around cities. That's why I came here. I had a deep desire to be part of this exchange of ideas, this community of entrepreneurs. And coming to the global hub where this was all happening, I felt welcomed and embraced. People didn't care where I came from, only my ideas and hard work mattered. I'm not alone. That is why you're here. The possibility that anyone with the right idea at the right time can have an impact on others, that is no longer limited to a single place. It's possible everywhere. What we are seeing now is an unprecedented global opportunity. In China, a few months ago, I met entrepreneurs combining social, commerce, and business platforms in entirely new and unique ways. And earlier, I mentioned a game built by an entrepreneur from Vietnam. When I was last in Vietnam, I met him. His name is Dong Nguyen, and he created Flappy Bird. He was a developer from Hanoi who wanted to create simple games, non-violent games, that reminded him of why he fell in love with gaming in the first place. And it quickly became one of the world's most downloaded games for Android and iPhones. Great ideas in technology no longer come from just Silicon Valley. They can and do come from anywhere. And now they can quickly reach scale. I see hubs growing all over the world. Germany, Brazil, UK, Israel, China. The latest figures say that 21% of adults across 60 countries intend to start a business in the next 3 years. And there are over 200 million women around the world who are starting or running a business. It's clear that Silicon Valley is now as much an idea as a place, and it is an ideal of what's possible. You're the ones building the next Google, the next Spotify, the next Tesla, the next, well, we don't even know, but what I know is that someone in this room will build it. We at Google are proud to be supporting this summit, and we are passionate about entrepreneurship. This is such an important issue for our company, but also for our country and for a community of entrepreneurs around the world. At Google, entrepreneurship is in our DNA. Google was founded here at Stanford, and the company's first home was in a garage just a couple miles from here. Like many of you in the audience, our founders were two young people with a vision of a better future, a better way, and they decided to follow their dreams. We now live on our own campus down the road and in dozens of countries, but the spirit continues. In fact, our most popular products, almost all big ideas that small entrepreneurial teams dreamed up and made happen. Gmail started with one person's passion to reinvent email. Today, it has over 1 billion monthly active users. Our browser Chrome, a small team's obsession to bring a faster, more secure web to everyone, now has over 1 billion monthly active users. Cardboard, our virtual reality viewer, two engineers in our Paris office had an idea of what's possible with a piece of cardboard and a phone. Now more than 5 million viewers are taking people to new worlds. Using Cardboard, teachers can take their classes on virtual field trips from the Great Barrier Reef to Machu Picchu. First Lady Michelle Obama made this part of her Reach Higher Education initiative. More than 1 million students from 11 countries have gone on virtual field trips. And today, we are making Cardboard available to LGBTQ centers around the world, so people who cannot physically attend Pride parades and festivals this weekend can still have the Pride experience. All of this came from two engineers in Paris' bright idea. We don't know what's next or where it'll come from, but we know that the barriers to entrepreneurship and to bringing ideas to global audiences are tumbling. People working anywhere in the world, born anywhere in the world, can create a product and make it available to anyone in the world. There are many countries helping to create positive environment for their entrepreneurs. At Google, we are committed to playing our part to foster the next generation of entrepreneurs. Our Google for Entrepreneurs team has established a number of campuses. These provide space for entrepreneurs to build and work together in major tech hubs to take their ideas and go global. We have opened campuses in London, Madrid, Sao Paulo, Seoul, Tel Aviv, and we look forward to reaching new cities in the future, and perhaps welcoming some of you to drop by. Google tools help businesses launch and grow every day. More than 30 million small businesses globally rely on at least one Google product to find customers, to grow, and to be productive. Training. We are also committed to train 5.5 million people on digital skills, investing over $140 million during the past year. In the next year, we aim to provide free digital skills training to 1 million young people in Africa alone. I know how much hard work it takes to pursue your dream of building a business. The long hours, time away from family, the rejection, the ideas you know are brilliant that just don't seem to catch on. There is a great quote from Thomas Edison that does the best job of defining what it's like to be an entrepreneur. I have not failed, I have just found 10,000 ways that don't work. Everyone here is part of a tradition that stretches all the way back to Edison and up to companies like Google today. It's about more than building apps to make money. It's about transforming industries, creating millions of jobs, curing diseases, fighting global warming, and making our schools richer environments for our children. And I hope you find the summit invigorating and that when you get home, it encourages you to continue building. You will prevail. The reason I know you'll prevail is because so many others have done it before you. The long arc of history tells us we have every reason to be hopeful. So be hopeful. There is an interesting trend I've noticed. It's very conventional for every generation to underestimate the potential of the following one. It's because they don't realize that the progress of one generation becomes the foundational premise for the next. And it takes a new set of people to come along and realize all the possibilities. I grew up without much access to technology. We didn't get our first telephone till I was 10. I didn't have regular access to a computer until I came to America for graduate school. My father spent the equivalent of a year's salary on my plane ticket to the US so I could attend Stanford. It was my first time ever on a plane. But when I eventually landed in California, things weren't as I had imagined. America was expensive. A phone call back home was more than $2 a minute, and a backpack cost the same as my dad's monthly salary in India. And for all the talk about the warm California beaches, that water was freezing cold. On top of all that, I missed my family, my friends, and my girlfriend, now my wife, back in India. A bright spot for me during this time was computing. For the first time in my life, I could use a computer whenever I wanted to. Completely blew my mind. Under television, when we finally got one, only had one channel. So imagine how awestruck I am today to be speaking to you on a platform that has millions of channels. There are probably things about technology that frustrate you and make you impatient. Don't lose that impatience. It'll create the next technology revolution and enable you to build things my generation could never dream of. The ability to ask a computer anything, anywhere. Be impatient. That's okay. It'll create the progress the world needs. The important thing is to be open-minded so that you can find what you love. For me, it was technology. The more access my family had to technology, the better our lives got. So when I graduated, I knew I wanted to do something to bring technology to as many others as possible. At the time, I thought I could achieve this by building better semiconductors. At that time, I used to read about what was happening in Silicon Valley, and I wanted to go be a part of it. And at that same moment, the internet was literally being built all around me. The year I arrived at Stanford was the same year the browser Mosaic was released, which would popularize the World Wide Web and the internet. The summer I left was the same summer that a graduate student named Sergey Brin met a prospective engineering student named Larry Page. These two moments would profoundly shape the rest of my life. But at the time, I didn't know it. It took me a while to realize that the internet would be the single best way to make technology accessible to more people. And as soon as I did, I changed course and decided to pursue my dreams at Google. So, a big part of what I focus on at any given time is, making sure we are innovating and building products for the future. So we are thinking about, things like virtual reality or augmented reality. So these are all new areas, but we've always had a very ambitious mission. We wanted to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible. We feel like we are in early days of that mission. And, so for us, the journey is just getting started. And I just want to make sure the next 30 years, we are still able to work on problems which really work for people on a day-to-day basis. Hopefully, at that point, serve all of humanity in a profound way. So that's where I want to be. It is a core part of at least what drew me to Google. I think the chance that we could work on products which would one day, reach everyone in the world. I didn't have access to computing growing up, and once I got access to it, it changed my life. And so I've always been interested in, this is why we work on affordable Android smartphones or Chromebooks, and being able to reach everyone, I think it's a foundational part of what we do. Inspired by the wonder that first browser created in me, I led the effort to launch one called Chrome in 2009 and drove the effort to help Google develop affordable laptops and phones so that a student growing up in any neighborhood or village in any part of the world could have the same access to information as all of you. Had I stayed the course in graduate school, I'd probably have a PhD today, which would have made my parents really proud. But I might have missed the opportunity to bring the benefits of technology to so many others. And I certainly wouldn't be standing here speaking to you as Google's CEO. Another thing I've noticed over time is you will have many opportunities to reinvent yourself. And so, so I think, it's worthwhile taking risks and trying to do something you're really, excited by. And if the first attempt you don't do it, you can try again, and things tend to work out in the long run. in Silicon Valley, part of the reason so many people start up a company is, starting up a company and even having failed, you can wear it like a badge of honor, right? And I think that's important. Culturally, risk is rewarded. I remember when I started working at Google, if I went and people were discussing ideas, the other people who heard the ideas try to build on those ideas. They encourage you. So it's a culture of optimism. It's a culture of risk taking, and I think that's really important. So, move forward would be for me. If I look at what is needed to solve the next generation of problems, creativity is an important attribute. I think so. Encouraging more creativity through the educational system. Today, I do think our educational system values, rigorous academic knowledge over necessarily, being more creative in how you approach education. I think that's important. Another thing I would say is, and I think I've seen it in the best schools in the US, etc. It's what I call it's very experiential, very hands-on. People learn how to do things by doing them, and not just by learning about them, right? And I think that's a big difference. So, to me, so allowing a system in which there's a lot more creativity, learning how to get things done by hand, and so much more of a project-based experiential learning are all, I think, trends which the Indian educational system needs to adopt. And I also think it's important to teach students to take risks, and and making sure the system doesn't penalize for you to take risks, and if you're different. And so those are all attributes which I think are important. When I see entrepreneurs here, they seem no different to me than the kind of people I meet in the Valley. So intrinsically, I think India can do the same kinds of things. And as the internet becomes more mainstream, people feel more confident. You have a much larger domestic market to tackle. That'll give you the confidence to tackle not just a local market, but global problems as well. So I think we're very well positioned. I mean, the one good thing about India is I think, there's always been, whenever in India I used to walk around and go to some remote corner and find a tea stall, I always felt there is an entrepreneur there somewhere who saw that opportunity. So I think that streak has always existed. But I do think this generation, to your earlier point, I think is less, afraid to take risks and follow a conformist path, which is good. You always, if you feel very comfortable in what you're doing, I don't think you're pushing yourself enough. And so I think you always want to strive to be in environments where you feel the people around you are a little bit better than you are. There are definitely at times, I've worked with amazing people at Google. I've been in a room where I felt, look, these people are better than me at what they're doing. And when you work with really good people, what you just described is it's a natural feeling to have. In fact, at Google, we talk about this for many new people. Sometimes they come into Google, and we have a phrase for this. We call this the imposter syndrome. People commonly say, well, I don't belong here because people around me seem very good. And I think any elite institution, I'm sure it's true at IIT here, you're always surrounded by very good people, and I think there are moments when you feel what you just described. Yeah. I think it's natural. If anything, I would say you almost always want to feel that all through your life, because that means you're working with people who are very good, and and that's really important. So people explore different things and find what they're really passionate about. So I think those are all good things to aspire to. I think I would like to see people value creativity, value experience of doing things, taking risks, and academics is important, but it is not as important as it's also made out to be. I think people should be encouraged to take risks a little bit more and try different things till they find what they like doing. I think that matters a lot. So that's the bar. So anything we try to do, we think of it that way, and so we aim high. And and you want to aim high enough that you fail, a few times. I think that's the natural part of the process. In fact, Larry used to say, if you work on really difficult things, you're better off because you have no competition. Others aren't working on that difficult a problem. And even if you fail, you end up doing something great in the process. And so I think that's the philosophy which has guided us all through these years. In Silicon Valley, part of the reason so many people start up a company is, starting up a company and even having failed, you can wear it like a badge of honor, right? And I think that's important. Culturally, risk is rewarded. So it's a culture of optimism. It's a culture of risk taking, and I think that's really important. So I think part of the problem is in India, The potential is there and the market is developing. I think it'll take a few more years for it to fully realize the potential. And so I'm absolutely confident of it. I think there is a timing issue, but I think we are growing well as a country. I think we need to stay at it, continue doing all these things, and it'll take a few more years and we'll get there. The trend lines are strongly in the favor. I think every year I can see the rate at which things are changing. So in about 3 to 4 years, I'm pretty convinced, at least in a 5 to 10 year time frame, that there will be big global software companies coming out of India, and we will be very used to it. I know how much hard work it takes to pursue your dream of building a business. The long hours, time away from family, the rejection, the ideas are brilliant that just don't seem to catch on. I'm absolutely convinced that India will be a global player in the digital economy, and it'll be competitive with any country in the world. So I've always felt that, and I think you have all the foundations. I've said this before, when I interact with startups in India, I find them world-class in terms of how they approach things, the entrepreneurs I run into, how they build products. And so I'm absolutely confident of it. There are many, many different ways you can approach things, and what matters most is loving what you're doing and trying to do well at it. So I think it's important to follow your dream and do something which you're excited by. So I think if you follow your heart and do what you like, you will always do much better. And so I don't think it matters if you're an engineer or you're in science, or it could be in any field. We're all looking to you. The world is counting on you, and we can't wait to see what you build next. I know you're getting a lot of advice today, so let me leave you with mine. Be open, be impatient, be hopeful. If you can do that, history will remember not for what you lost, but for what you changed. You have the chance to change everything. I'm optimistic you will. Thank you.